Hi everyone, welcome to a brand new session of Creators on Air. This is Chila from Newsletter Circle. I share written interviews with newsletter creators about how they build their publications once in a week. And additionally, I also host these live sessions where I invite successful creators on Substack to talk about again how they build their publications or focus on some specific strategies. So today, my guest is Derek, and from the Irresistible Writer newsletter on Substack. Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. So good to be here and to kind of meet you in the flesh, as it were, for the first time.
Yeah, it's great to have you here. And today, actually, we have a really specific topic to talk about. This is something that I like because this is something that you have the expertise. And I'm really looking forward to hearing your learnings about how to launch a successful digital product and how to make it work, your recipe to make a digital product launch a success. But before going into these details, let me mention about you very briefly, and then I will also ask a few questions about your background. Okay, I already told that your newsletter is the Irresistible Writer, reaching over 3,000 subscribers on Substack, but you also have a list on Kit where you reach over 8,000 subscribers. Your newsletter is about showing writers how to make money and build an online audience. But the interesting thing is that you started your newsletter, or I don't know, maybe you started writing online 2 years ago with zero experience in online writing. You are not coming from a marketing business background. This is something that I'm curious to learn more about. And then you created your first digital product 15 months ago. And today you are generating $4,000 per month just from digital product sales. And only last year you built 6 different digital products, right?
Yeah.
So before going into the details of digital product launch, let us learn more about how you started writing online, despite you don't have any previous experience. How did things evolve? Why did you do this? And how you managed to improve yourself, within such a short period of time?
Yeah, I mean, on one level, I shouldn't be here. I've actually never worked for a business before. I've only worked for charities and the kind of helping professions. And then, about 2.5 years ago, my job I'd moved job and it was a lot less stressful and I had a lot of brain space. And I thought I'd start sharing my thoughts online. And so I just started kind of writing and nobody read it. And I realized that my writing was like terrible. And there was all these new rules about how you get attention and all that. And so, yeah, I was on Medium. That's where I started. So for like 6 months, nobody was reading it. And I'm quite competitive by nature. So even though I didn't know anything about writing or marketing or business, I decided, actually, I'm going to try and learn like how to do it, whether it's possible. I mean, I probably didn't even think it was possible, but I thought I might as well learn. And I'd come across Nicholas Cole and his book and what he'd achieved. And so I thought, I'm going to try. And I just studied other people who were doing well and worked out what they were doing and how I could apply their ideas. And I would just apply a couple of ideas every month to my writing and try and shape it and change it. And it kind of got slightly better and better. And then after like 7 months, probably on Medium, my growth just kind of exploded and took off. And that's when I was like, oh my word, something might happen here. And I got lots of like followers from that. And and so that was like the start of me believing people might want to read what I might want to write. And it wasn't about making money or anything. It was just about a bit of a hobby at that point. And then I was reading that you could make money online and that people could like make money through writing and through the online career economy, because I'd never really knew anything about that either. And I thought that was a bit of a scam, really. I thought, this is not true. Do you know what I mean? People are not really making money doing this. And but I was like, I'm a bit of an experimenter. I'm quite curious by nature. So I was like, I'm going to just test it out. So then I went on a bit of a journey of kind of working out if you can help others and get paid for it. And my first couple of products like completely failed initially in the first year. And then eventually 15 months ago, I launched the Ultimate Headline Toolkit. And I had no idea what was going to happen. And it like made money. And that just like blew my mind, really. And then kind of went on from there. And now I've worked full time most of the time, but now I'm dropping hours at work and working less and less because making money with my writing online business, really, which is just a little bit insane because it wasn't on the agenda 2 years ago. So quite a crazy story, really.
Yeah, that's really interesting to hear that in the beginning you just started writing, and then along the way you discovered that you can make money with it. But there are different ways to make money by writing online. As far as I get, you prefer to focus on creating digital products, right?
After about 6 or 7 months, I did a bit of ghostwriting for a company that I quite admired and followed. They asked me to do a few bits and pieces. But then I realized I didn't really want to do that. I didn't want to like sell my time and just get like another job working for somebody else. But the digital product side of it did quite excite me.
What about paid subscription, growing a paid membership? When you compare, making money with digital products versus paid membership on Substack, what are your thoughts on that? Pros, cons?
Yeah, so when I landed on Substack last summer, I'd already started making money through digital products. And then I landed on Substack and there was this paid thing. And I've probably spent 7-8 months getting that quite wrong and not doing very well at that. Probably the last month, my paid subscriptions are starting to go up quite quickly because I've got quite a clear strategy and offer around that. But my experience is that digital products are really easy to make money from, and paid subscribers is really hard. That would be my experience. It's just really hard to make money with paid subscriptions, and it takes a lot of time and effort. And when you start to look at how much time you're spending on your paid subs and you work out how much you're getting paid, you're just like, oh man, this is not a very good return on your time a little bit. So if a new Substack person I was coaching someone this week and they were asking me my advice for them to make money. And my personal advice would go down the digital product route and don't go down the paid subscriber route. But I mean, people can do what they want. But I've said to her, you'll find it much easier. Just keep it free, build your audience, and then from that, create products. And if you want to switch on paid subs later, you can. But it is really kind of hard work, I think. I mean, I am making a bit from it now, but digital products is much easier.
Yeah. But as you said, when you first launched a digital product, it was not a success, right? Because first time, I'd like to talk about it. What was it about, first of all, your digital product, and what worked, what didn't work? What were your biggest learnings from this very first launch? Because I'm sure that there are people who are listening to us currently. Maybe they are considering to launch a product, but they're afraid to make it a failure, after the first trial. So what would you like to say them? What would your biggest message?
Yeah. So, I mean, the first thing to say, it was a bit of a disaster, but I kind of learned a lot from it. So I don't regret doing it. There is a few things you need to know in order to make it work. And if you don't know those things, it's not going to work out. But I would still encourage people just to kind of do it anyway, because that's how you learn. But like the big things I did, so I was on Twitter at the time and I created, and I'd gone viral with some of my tweets and posts, like ridiculous numbers. And I'd learned how to get a lot of attention on Twitter. And so my course was an email-based course where people would get the templates of the hooks that had worked for me. And so it was basically how a new writer went viral on Twitter. And here's how I did it. And I broke down all my tweets and why they worked and give a template for the people to use themselves. And I sold that on Gumroad. And so there was a lot that I did right because it was from my experience and it was a tool that people could use, etc. But the stuff that I did wrong is I tried to sell it on social media because I didn't have an email list at that time. So I just posted on Twitter about it. And you can't sell on social media. The other thing that I did is I knew nothing around sales and marketing and how you launch and how you communicate and all the psychology of that. I just thought this is useful. People will buy it. I've went viral with these things and other people want to go viral. So therefore they will buy it. And there was some of that's true to a degree, but actually there's a lot of psychology around helping people to buy, because we're internally resistant to buy, even though we need something. And so when I help people now, 50% of my system around creating digital products, half of it is to do with actually how you get people to buy it, and half of it is around creating it. So that was the big thing that I did wrong at the start. And so after that, I read a lot of marketing books with cheesy, sleazy titles that I actually hated, but just to kind of look at what's the process and how do people buy and how could you help them to buy? And that was, so I went back to the drawing board before I launched my next one.
Okay. Then I like to ask, what is the right process to make people buy? Of course, it's not an easy question to answer, but imagine that I decided to create my first product. I identified the needs. I know my formats because there are different types of digital products, but I'm sure that it will be something really relevant to my audience. I have my email list. So what should the launch, pre-launch, launch, and maybe post-launch process look like? Can you summarize the key points?
Yeah. So assuming you've done all that right, which is quite an achievement, isn't it? But I think some of the things is around understanding the triggers that cause people to buy. And usually it's emotion rather than logic. And usually it's around their fears and their desires. So you need to know your audience's fears and desires, and you need to kind of tap into them and basically know what the triggers are for people to buy. So the triggers are if people trust you. And I guess it's understanding what questions are in people's mind before they buy. So their questions are, what is this about? How does it work? Will it work for me? How can I trust you? And what's your credibility? And what's it going to do for me? And why should I buy it now? And you got to kind of through that. So, if I was launching a product, I probably on the launch would send maybe 10 emails, maybe 7 to 10 emails after the date launches. And then probably for the next 2 weeks, people might get about 7 or 10 emails at me touching on each of those things. I wouldn't cover all that in one thing, but I would break down all those things and I would come up with how I'm going to help people understand this bit or that bit. How I'm going to tap into their fear or their frustration or their dream. How I'm going to establish my credibility. How I'm going to help them understand what it actually does. And I would kind of map that out into maybe 7 or 10 emails and then plan that out. So I would tend to do quite an intense launch period. And then it would and then that would end and I would do kind of other things after that probably. But with the free content, so all the things that I'm doing now around free content, etc., all that is preparation for the sales process. So it's all about getting to know my audience and what are their frustrations and dreams and desires. So take a simple example. I help people create products so they can make money. Yeah, but actually, what's the real frustration people have, and what's the real dream? And the frustration might be they want to get out of their job, or the frustration might be they want to help others, or they may feel I've got this idea and I really want to change lives, or they may not be able to pay their rent, and that's why they need money. So there's lots of different. Even if it's your solution is to make money, the real underneath that is a whole variety of things, and you've got to kind of know your audience to know what it is. So say you're helping someone lose weight, that sounds obvious, but why do they want to lose weight? What's the real driver? Is it they want a better sex life or a partner? Is it they're worried about their health? Is it they can't play with the grandkids? They haven't got energy. They've got a diagnosis, which means they might die. You need to understand your audience because that's the stuff that causes them to buy, not just the logic of this helps you make money or this helps you lose weight, so therefore you should buy it. And so there's quite a lot of preparation around that, which is a lot of my free content is learning that really and testing out things from my audience. That's probably quite a lot of different things, but I mean, it's a big question, you know. And if I was running a live cohort, you know, I would spend 3 long sessions talking about that. But that's probably some of the things that I've learned over the last kind of 12 months about how to.
Yeah, let me ask a bit more, how to say, uh, targeted question then. You said that it all starts with knowing your audience. And this is really important, not only to create digital products, to shape our content, or if you share paid content, it is still crucial. But I think the real question is how can we know our audience? You know, what are the ways? You know, there are different ways to do it. You can, I don't know, jump on calls, I don't know, send surveys, and you can check the performance of different contents you share, etc. But what is your approach?
And yeah, so you're exactly right. The strategy to grow your audience, like to get more subscribers and followers, you need to know them. And it's the same strategy to make money. So the way that I grew my audience was to analyze what was their frustrations and their desires. And probably my biggest thing is I would just post content and see what got a lot of response from people. So when I was on Medium, I would post stuff, and at the end of the month, I would analyze which articles had done well. And then I would be like, why is that one done well and that one hasn't? What's that one talking about that one isn't? Because they'd all be about writing and making money and growing your audience. And then I would look at the comments of what people would say. And so some people just say, oh, great tips. Thank you. This is great. You know, but the ones who said more, then I would listen and like, listen, what are they saying? Because don't assume what your audience's needs are, but I would start to read them and see what the comments were. And I'd start to build up a picture of, because when I first went like viral on Medium, I didn't know why I went viral. Like I didn't know why people were suddenly reading my stuff, you know, and so I had to kind of discover that and work out what it was. And so like I remember one time on the first sentence of an article, I wrote down that I was 51 and I never knew anything about writing and marketing. And I put my age in. And on Medium, people can highlight sentences that they like, you know. And so everyone was highlighting age 51, age 51, age 51. And I was like, what's that got to do with anything? And it was like, actually, if you can start again at age 51, then maybe anyone can start again, you know, and people were tapping into that. So then I realized that was that what people wanted was hope that they could build something themselves. And but that only come from just experimenting and listening to the response. I would like be looking at what gets restacked on, you know, Substack, what gets liked, what gets comments, and then when you do get comments, look at what people are saying, and you know, put all that into a document somewhere. You know what I mean? Copy and paste any significant comments from people. I mean, these days you can do that, or you can just, I mean, something that I did recently. So I paid someone on Upwork $10 to look at all my notes on Substack, and I said, I want you to put in a chart all my best performing notes. And so that's what she did. And then I uploaded that chart to ChatGPT.
Yeah.
And said, looking at this, what do you think are the fears and the frustrations and the desires and dreams of my audience? Analyze my audience and tell me about that. And that was a bit quicker than the olden days where I used to do it manually. But now you can just upload it and ChatGPT will tell me about my audience because they're telling you all the time from their responses and stuff. And you can use that to then attract your audience in terms of free content. But then it also signals what sort of products they might be interested in as well.
Yeah, it's a great, really actionable tactic that we can apply, I think. Yeah, you mentioned that you mentioned about these intense launch periods where you send 7 to 10 emails. There is also this pre-launch phase to create curiosity, or maybe, you know, gather some emails for the wait lists, and then there is post-launch phase, etc. So, are you managing this process with your Kit newsletter? Because I think this is something that Substack creators struggle with, right? Because it's possible to segment. At least it's not possible to make some detailed segments to automate emails. So I think launching a digital product with only a Substack newsletter is something difficult, right? What would you like to say about it?
Yeah. I totally agree. I think that you can't really launch digital products just using the Substack system. Do you know what I mean? Because you're just making it really, really hard for yourself. And Kate or Beehive or any of those email facilities, they are really powerful. And it sounds a bit complicated, but actually, once you start to use it, it's really simple. So, like for me, whenever I'm promoting a product and I drop it into my newsletter, I know if somebody's clicked on the link. And so when those that have clicked on their link, they go into a separate list. And so when I send more sales emails, I'm thinking, I'm only sending it to the people who've clicked on the link, because everyone else they're not even interested in clicking. So I'm not going to like target them with loads and loads, but you know that information. So you don't annoy your readers by them they're not interested in this thing. Plus you can form a waiting list. So sometimes I do that. And then, so when I'm sending 7 to 10 emails, that's not going to my whole list, because they would all leave if I did that. That's going to the people who've expressed an interest and a curiosity, either explicitly or implicitly. So yeah, I would say that really you need something like Kit in order to do that. And I mean, and it's crazy because like if I send 10 emails over 2 weeks, when I send the 9th email, I'll get some sales. And when I send the 10th email, I'll get some more sales. And sometimes I'm sitting there thinking, I've sent you 9 emails about this in the last week. And on the 9th email, you're pressing like buy, and like, you know, all the information, you know what I mean? But every time you send an extra email, you get sales, you know, and so if you've got
but it's because you are sending these emails to right people.
Yes, that's right. Who are all curious because they're clicking and they're expressing interest. But it's because people need time to fully process it. Do you know what I mean? And they need to like fully think about it. I mean, you get the people who buy on the first one, but you got people. So if you don't have that system, you're just losing sales. If you just send 1 or 2 emails through Substack, you're getting a tiny proportion of what you could get if you had a full system through Kit or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And what about your approach to pricing? How should we price our digital products? Again, you know, of course, this changes from product to product. It depends on the how comprehensive the product is. But I'm trying to understand a general approach for deciding the right pricing point. For example, one thing might be to search for similar products in the markets, I don't know, launched by other creators, and list them and check the price points just to take it as a reference. But something like that, do you have any concrete recommendations to decide on the right pricing points?
Yeah. So like over the last kind of 15 months from, you know, the products I've created, you know, most of the time I've made it up as I've went along. You know, probably now I understand things a lot more and I'm able to kind of advise other people and stuff like that. You know, I mean, generally I advise people to, if they're new creators or they're creating their first product or whatever, you know, I encourage people to make quite small products, even if it's a course, you know, go for 7 modules that are just 10 minutes long, or 7 email modules, you know, keep it quite small and charge under $100, you know, because then if it's under $100 psychologically, it's just quite a quick click for people if they decide. If it's like $400, then I've got to really think about this, you know what I mean? And you put yourself under a lot of pressure as a creator. And so I start small because I just want to test if it works, you know, and then gradually, I mean, most of my products have been under $100. I've kept it kind of the same strategy until my last one. And that was a lot more because it was a live cohort and it was teaching people to create digital products. So it had a lot more value to it. So that was charged a lot more. But the way that you then boost the price is through like bump products and adding extras. So you can get a lot of extra value kind of in that But one of the big things I advise people, and sometimes I'll get people saying that they're creating like an ebook or something like that. And I'll always say, like, don't try and sell an ebook, because like nobody's going to buy an ebook for $99 probably. Do you know what I mean? Because an ebook is not seen as that valuable. It's often a freebie, etc. But you can take the same information and put it in a different format and it affects the value. So if you make a video course or an ebook, you charge more for a video course, even if your ebook's got 7 chapters and your course has got 7 modules. You take the same content, but you change the format. And it's like, why would you have a cheap format when you can kind of upgrade it into a course? And that means you can put up your price to $49 or $79. And then I tend to add bonuses and extra things on, which then people buy as well, like bump products. And that can kind of push up the amount that you would get. But I would start, if someone's brand new, you want to start small, because the most important thing is to get sales and to get a feel thing. And then you could either keep it at the same price or push it up as you go. And then you might, so my last one, when I did a live cohort, I was teaching people to create digital products and, 6 steps. That was $249. That was the first time I charged over $99, but I'd done 6 products by then. So I was prepared to take a risk. But if I'd started there and it failed, I wouldn't know why it failed or anything. So you want to start small, I would say, and test things out. And then you'll get more confidence. But start with something quite, small, just like 7 modules or something like that. Don't start with some massive thing. And then just do another product and another product. And you can just get a nice turnover of 3 or 4 grand every time you create a product, which is quite nice, really, and that thing builds up.
Yeah, you are also probably promoting your more expensive products to the ones who already purchased low price offers, right?
Yeah.
Upsell offers, because these people are already familiar with your work, and if they like the results, maybe they are more willing to buy a more expensive product.
Yeah.
Afterwards.
Yeah, and like my first product, I launched it. The first one that worked, I launched it, and I had like 500 email subscribers. So if you've got 500 email subscribers and you're telling people how to build an audience or build headlines, you've only got a small amount of creativity. Whereas like now I've, enabled to go part-time in my job, make maybe $4,000 or more a month on digital products. So I've got a bit, and I've created 6, and I've now got a system. So I've got a bit more I can offer people. So I can offer them more value and charge more. So you can build up your credibility, and then you can build up your pricing and be a bit more ambitious with your products. But you can learn a thing at each time. But honestly, like even like selling something for like $69, when you make a sale and you're just like, I can just remember, I just felt this is insane. And my wife was like, what are you doing? You're recording videos of you in your front room and people are paying $69 for it. She was just like, what is this online thing, But yeah, it can really just encourage you, and then you just kind of can build on from there.
Yeah, I also see many video products, with a price of $29 or $39. There are even cheaper products that creators are selling. It's not because they're not value packed. Probably they're experimenting some stuff. They're just using these to, warm up the audience and maybe to see what resonates the most. In the beginning, low ticket offers are, I think, great to experimenting what works best. And when you think all these digital product formats, for example, I hear more and more about email courses, but we also have these online video courses, right? There are templates, checklists. In the end, people would like to pay for the things that teach something to them, and showing how to apply things. But among these formats, which one is your favorite and why? Or in which circumstances, which format is more viable?
I mean, my most surprising one would be my resource bank, which I did last summer. And that was kind of, so in one sense, I like that one because it was like really easy to do. And because So my resource bank was all my templates and all the resources basically on my computer that I'd use to learn how to write and get people to follow you. I developed lots of strategies and tools that I was using every day to write. And I remember sitting in my garden thinking, I just had this moment when I'd made 3 courses already. And I was thinking, I wonder if anybody else would like all this stuff that I've got on my computer. And then I was like, maybe they will. And because it was on my computer, I don't need to record any videos. I just tidy it up and upload it. So very quickly I did. And that was my resource bank with, how you create ideas and templates and hooks, etc. And I uploaded it. And that was my best seller. Do you know what I mean? And I was like, oh, wow. So that was quite it wasn't that fulfilling to create because it was already there. It was quite easy. But to be able to just upload loads of stuff and get $8-9 grand from it, that was quite a buzz and quite it was like a moment of, and people who are watching this, they won't realize the stuff they know and the stuff they have that other people would really value. And that one strikes me a lot because I had $9 grand sitting on my laptop and I just never thought about it until I had that moment. And if I didn't have that moment, it could still be sitting there. And there are probably other people watching it that they'll have all sorts of things that's just in their head or on their computer or strategies, tools they've used in all sorts of niches that other people would love that to solve their problems. And you don't even need to be really fancy with it. Do you know what I mean? You could just upload it or put it together and offer it to people. And if that's achieved results for you that you can demonstrate, that's what people will buy. If it's helped you lose weight or sort your relationships out or sort your mental health out or whatever it might be, if those tools have really worked for you and you've got the evidence, then people will snap your hand off for them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's great. I totally agree. We sometimes we make things more difficult for us, right? We already have the materials or the know-how, as you said, in our head or in our computer. It's just a matter of organizing things. But sometimes, we are making things more complicated than it is. So it's a really nice reminder to that.
Yeah. And I guess it's like the imposter syndrome and it's like the doubt of and I have it every time I launch a course. I have this moment of doubt of is this worth $80? Is this worth $250? And you have that moment of insecurity. And I've got to talk myself around of would I pay $80 in order to attract an audience of 25,000 people online? Or would someone paid $50 in order to get their kid to sleep every night or whatever the problem might be? And when you think about that, you think, yeah, I would pay that. And so it's just kind of overcoming that and realize that it is valuable. But I think we all suffer with self-doubt and imposter syndrome. And it's just getting over that and realizing people in their position would pay to solve the problem that you've solved in your own life.
Yeah, exactly. During the whole conversation, you already mentioned some stuff, but just to wrap up, if you name 3 biggest mistakes when it comes to digital product launches, what would they be? And, 3 mistakes that you'd like to say people stop doing.
Yeah, I mean, I do see people making these mistakes. The first one people do is they make it too complicated. They put too much into it and they think that more information will make people excited. If it's 21 videos or if they're really long, the people will be excited to buy that. And people are not excited to buy that because when they see all the information, they just think that's a lot of work. So when you put it all in, if you can get rid of all the non-essentials and say, this is what you need, this framework, 3 videos, follow this system. So the first mistake is like too much stuff and thinking that helps people. It doesn't. The second is shying away from sales and marketing and just putting it out there. Just, I had somebody recently, they didn't need any of my help because they had a product on Gumroad. And 2 weeks later, it was like, how's your sales going? And they hadn't sold any because they just thought uploading it was the end, And I get it. And I was really resistant to sales and marketing because it's just a bit sleazy and pushy, etc. But if you think that you're just communicating in a way to help people and learning how to do that, would be the kind of second thing. And then the third thing is realizing that what people buy is a transformation. They don't buy a lot of content. Nobody wants more content. They want a transformation. So they want something to change. And just offer them a change, which might be their kid going to sleep, or them getting off the couch, or them writing headlines that gets clicks, or them building an audience, or whatever, learning how to navigate Substack, or whatever it might be. It's a specific transformation. That's what people are looking for. They don't want just to download lots of content. And that's quite hard to keep focused on. But if you can do that, then you've got a great chance of making some serious money online.
Yeah, thank you. That's a great summary. And before finishing, you're also planning to do a free masterclass to talk more about digital product launches. Maybe you can shortly mention about it and what you plan to cover there.
Yeah. I mean, because I've made like 6 products in the last 12 months, and now I've got a system and I know what works. It's no longer random. I would just love to help other people do that. So yeah, I've got a masterclass on June the 11th where I'm just going to give the 3 secrets of creating your first digital products of people who haven't done it before. And that's just free to come. And I'm just going to give you those secrets and just share very practically how I've done it in my own experience, the different courses I've launched and how I've used that, so that people will get kind of some very tangible takeaways and see how possible it is for them to take what I'm sharing and do it in their own niche or their own area.
Yeah,
and you'll put the link down below or something, won't you, so people can sign up for that.
Yeah, I will also share a summary of what we discussed today. So if you subscribe Newsletter Circle, you can also see this link to the free masterclass. So if you haven't subscribed yet, just follow Newsletter Circle. And do you have anything to add? I think we covered lots of things, but it's really, how to say, important and complicated topic. Of course, to talk, we can talk about for hours, but I just try to cover the most critical things. But I don't know, would you like to add something?
Yeah, I mean, I think kind of the final thing, or the thing that I would want to emphasize is that, like, you just learn by having a go. You learn by having a go. And I know it's really hard to have a go because we feel imposter and it's going to fail and whatever. But if you just have a go, then you'll either make a lot of money or you'll learn a lot of stuff. And if you learn a lot of stuff, it means next time you might make a lot of money. And if I hadn't did that first failure, I probably would have not been where I am today. Do you know what I mean? So it's just like, do it and you'll either make money or you'll fail and you'll learn lots for next time. And so I would just encourage people not to kind of put it off till they're ready and they're perfect, but just have a go and get all the tips you can and then just have a go.
Yeah, they just need to look at what they already have at hand in terms of metrics and know-how. They should start simple. And they shouldn't be disappointed with the failures, whatever the failure or success term in their mind. And it's okay to start with a low price offer and then improve and increase the price in time. In the end, of course, all these learnings, there are some general learnings, but the details change depending on the newsletter topic and the audience, etc. But you shared some evergreen information when it comes to, critical points to pay attention. So thank you so much. It was a fruitful discussion, really value-packed discussion for me. I hope anyone who joined today also enjoyed it and found it useful. Thank you so much. And we are looking forward to your masterclass. I will share the link.
Yeah, that's great. Everyone's welcome. And it's changed my life, creating products. So I would just love to help other people with it as well, really.
That's great. Thank you so much. Have a great day and bye, everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye, everybody.